Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your Life Matters Soul Connection podcast with your host, none other than moi, Junie Swadron. And today I am absolutely delighted to welcome Jason Freeman. Jason, welcome. Welcome to this podcast and to this time together. I'm so excited to
Thanks so much for having me, Junie.
Oh, you're so welcome. So what I'm going to do right now, Jason, is I'm going to let people know a little bit about you through the bio that you sent so that I can just present an introduction in that way. And so I just want everyone to know that whenever Jason Freeman speaks to an audience, be it an intimate mastermind in North County, San Diego, or an assembly of 1,500 high school students in Austin, Minnesota, he is absolutely 100% committed to bringing his speech impediment with him. So now we already know his sense of humor and his truth. Audience, I can hardly wait for this interview to just share you and your humor and your heart with the world. Anyway, audiences see Jason on stage against all odds, living his dream, which helps them see their dreams as closer and more attainable. Jason has a unique walk, a love for country music, a sweet tooth, a master of fine arts in poetry, a TED Talk, the Tedx Talk, and a book he authored called Awkwardly Awesome, Embracing My Imperfect Best. His goal is to speak with millions of people in his lifetime. He hopes to inspire them to see the best in themselves, to take their next steps forward and to persevere towards their dreams, not only for themselves, but for the health and happiness of generations to come. Yes. Wow. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Jason, for having the courage, may I say, to come out of the pain that you had experienced most of your life, which or the earlier parts of your life and for many years into adulthood, and to turn that around. And I want you to please tell us about that. And I'd like to start a little bit about how this began for you and how you began to turn it around. So please let us know about that.
So we all get the opportunity to have challenges in life, which come in many different varieties, an infinite number of varieties. And I just wanted to get going early on. I wanted to get to my challenges early, so I literally came out and said, "Hey, I'm ready to be born. I'm ready to be born." About 2 weeks early, and luckily my parents had backed their heads and got us to the emergency room in time. But in the process, my umbilical cord got kinked like a garden hose, and I lost some oxygen, but not too much, or because if I had lost too much, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
I wouldn't have gotten a chance to exist.
Right, and inspire the world through through the drive inside of you to go beyond the speech impediment or whatever you felt was this disability, and find a better way, not just for you, but for others as well. And that just takes tremendous courage. It takes so much courage. Most people, not many people, I would think, have such a hard time because of, we all have our, like you said, I love, that we are given opportunities with our challenges, of challenges, right? And they're opportunities. And what are opportunities? They're not challenges, they're opportunities to go the next step. So I love the way in which you even put you're a poet without even poetry, the way in which you speak and use your words already. I see. No,
thanks.
no, but truly, it's an opportunity to turn something around. And you talk about your imperfect best. So it sounds like a hopeless contradiction. So having an imperfect best, how can that be a part of healthy and being successful?
It sounds like a forever tug of war game, right? Imperfect best, imperfect best. But so first, I like to talk about the best part of the two words. And to me, the best connotes not only the best we are today, but the best we envision for our lives and for the lives of the people around us and for future generations. And that's all well and good. And if life was absolutely perfect, that best might be relatively easy to achieve. I mean, if we just could do everything we wanted to do so easily, that best would be not that
mundane.
Mundane, yeah, commonplace. But the imperfect comes up in terms of circumstances, like global circumstances. Sometimes, like 2020, individual circumstances like a speech impediment, maybe an overactive mind, being really anxious. There's all kinds of challenges to our best, and we can either do two things with these challenges, and I've done both in my life. Like back when I was suffering the most as a junior high student, I hated my challenges. I didn't want the speech impediment. I didn't want the overactive mind. I didn't want the anxiety. I wanted them to go away right now so I could live fully.
Yes.
And I wish I could tell that junior high student I was, that seventh grader who was so distraught he attempted to take his own life, that he didn't need to go to war with his challenges, that he could use the very things he hated about himself and about life to learn from, to grow from. He could judge them as unique and use them to propel him forward.
Well, you know what you're doing now, Jason? You are giving a gift that every person who's looking at themselves right now and the challenges that they're facing has an opportunity to look at their younger self, no matter how old they are, the teenagers, the whoever that are suffering right now, or maybe are at the brink of just total despair. If they could just bring into themselves that compassion that can come. And that's what you're doing. And that's what you're going to tell us more about how that happened. But yes, to be able to look back and or to know that there's hope, we can change these things, and to just honor that part of us, and honor the parts that are hurting. I've certainly been there, and I know that place too. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage and strength. And oh my God, it's worth every second of whatever that takes to turn it around, because life becomes a joy. And you have brought so much joy. So yes, the struggle, that I can just imagine that young you that just wanted it all to go away, wanted it to go away, and were in such deep distress that you didn't even want to be on the planet any longer. What helped you to turn it around, Jason?
What helped me to turn it around? So many things. First of all, one thing that distraught kid that I didn't know is the value of patience, the value of living in learning and things eventually will change for better, the better. So the first thing is patience, which I understand. I've been there. When when someone's in a real tough spot, the last thing they want to hear is, "Oh, be patient and it all will get better." The last thing, but the value of patience is it gives you time to try new things. Like for example, it would be about 20 some years before the seventh grade I was found out about yoga. And when I found yoga, it was suggested to me, and I finally did it. But when I found it, I was so relieved because finally, I mean, for most of my life, my mind overruled everything else. And when my mind had a negative thought, I would just take my body for a ride and say, "Hey, we're going down this road, whether you like it or not, whether it stresses you out or not." But with yoga, I learned to breathe deliberately and move deliberately and to be with those thoughts instead of reacting to them.
Right.
And these sound like simple lessons. In some senses they are, but when I didn't know them and didn't act out my days based on them, my mind would just take me, like I said, on rides, and I would be wanting to go towards my best, which was, say it was west of where I was, but then my mind would start talking to me, and pretty soon we'd be going east and the north, and then doing zigzags, and before long I would be miserable again because
you had no control.
Yeah.
But the yoga helped you to learn a way in which you could have some control. You could do the breath, or learn ways in which you could slow that process down for yourself. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, slow the process down enough to know that I could have a disruptive thought, but then I could look at it and say, "Hey, do I want to follow you all day long, don't I? And then if I didn't want to, I could step back and
Yay, you had choice.
what?
You had choice.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. Choice. It is so incapacitating to feel that we don't have choice sometimes.
That's, I think, what keeps the spinning mind going. Like, what's the point? It's always going to be like this. That's where the hopelessness, I think, comes in, when you don't think you have a choice, if there's anything going to be better. But you made it better. You made it better. And one of the things that you did, and you said, it was patience, and the patience gave you some spaciousness enough to see what else can come in. And the yoga came as a part of that, which was part of that beginning, I suspect. What other things eventually?
And not part of the beginning. I didn't find yoga till it was suggested to me when I was about 31 or 32. So talk about patience. That was 20 years in, where things got progressively better, but there was still something not quite right in my life 20 years later. And
Right. Well, I think that's the beauty of life. The longer we're alive, the more we see that can come in and enhance things that can come in and enhance our lives to make it even better. And it could be totally unrelated. It could be just sitting and watching a robin hopping across the grass. And it's like, all of a sudden we were just feeling kind of glum and dreary, and wow, and just looking at the innocence and being captured by that moment. We just don't know what's going to suddenly, and that could just, we were talking beforehand. I got up this morning and painted a shell. There was a little girl here yesterday, and she was painting a rock and shells that we just kind of have around, and I left the stuff up, and I just got so inspired. Instead of going to the coffee percolator, or putting on the coffee, I opened up the paint and I just started painting a shell. And it was
beautiful.
Well, what was so beautiful, and this is so true and honest, is that I knew that I didn't have the whole day to do this, that I was coming on with you, but that inspired me to go even further, because I knew that you're so easy to be with. I just, even, I haven't known you, I only spoke with you one other time, but just that exudes from you, your realness and your easiness, and I can do my imperfect best and it would be okay with you. And that's the beautiful message that you give. Take whatever it is and bring it forward and allow it to be part of who we are. So tell us more about how that developed and how that's become what you do in the world.
So imperfect best, like breathing consciously is. I mean, it sounds easy on paper to take all the imperfections in life and use it to propel us towards the best, but then the mind wants to get in the center of imperfect best sometimes and start the tug of war again.
Right.
And I was thinking about this morning. It's not like the mind is the enemy, or something that should be totally domesticated or whatever. I mean, our minds give us the ability to have this magical human experience. I mean, without our minds, I mean, we'd be some other type of creature. So our minds are brilliant, but to come again in I mean, and this can happen every time we are making an effort. The mind wants it to be perfect, going better than it's going, and we can take from the mind what's useful to make whatever we're doing good, but then say to the rest of it, I hear you, but I'm going to do this thing because it's my best effort right now. And as imperfections come up, I'll learn from the imperfections. The imperfections won't negate my effort. They won't disable me. I'll get more powerful from the imperfections. And it's a constant thing because the mind will start talking to us about painting a shell just right, or painting a beautiful painting like the one behind you just right, or being on a podcast interview just right. So it's always take what you can from the mind's wisdom, but then also be able to choose the direction you want to go and to finish the effort instead of getting paralyzed by I can never do this right, and before long you just give up painting the shell or painting the painting, or being on the podcast or whatever. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It makes sense to me that it's a way of befriending the mind. The mind is, as a tool. We need it. Like you said, we'd be some other creature if we didn't have one. We'd be an amoeba. What's the word? Or something that would just be inert, perhaps. And but it is. I think it's about befriending those parts of us that are in the way sometimes with our of what maybe that we and it's not about saying, oh, I've got to get rid of this awful thing that's going on or whatever, and it just creates more tension. It's somehow, and you can tell us how you did it, to train that part of us, that mind that just wants to go east when we want to go west or whatever, or wants to go in another direction and get us to. And so I think it is about just saying, it's okay. It's okay. I got this. And you're safe, because I think that part just really wants to keep us safe, even though it doesn't feel that way. It's out of control for us, but it doesn't know another way. Call it the ego, call it whatever we want, but it is, I think, a way of just making peace with those other parts and being able to then have, like you said earlier, have control, have choice, to be able to guide it in a direction that's going to serve us, as opposed to be totally at the victim or at the mercy of whichever way the wind is blowing, the mind is wanting to go. Was there a particular time, Jason, where you had this like amazing aha? Like where that you went from this kid that wanted to not even be on the planet, this teenager that was just so upset with life because of you had this imperfection, that you looked around and other people didn't have it, and other kids and all of what you went through, to where you are today. There's probably lots of ahas that have come along the way, but can you recall any that right very soon, that where you were saying this has got to stop, or this has got to end, or there's got to be a better way, that just something clicked in and it just kind of and brought you to the next step that was just so real for you, that gave you the hope that you didn't have to live in that way forever?
I would say going so 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 the situation that got me to my first yoga class. So, so it was a morning that should have been one of the happiest of my life. I had just graduated with my MFA in poetry.
Wow, congratulations. However, I'm hearing a however.
Yeah. However, I was back in my hometown working the same job that I had for a decade, which was a great job, and I have family and friends. And now this great accomplishment, but I still just didn't feel way within myself. I was miserably stressed out. Accomplishing the degree hadn't slowed down my mind that was going a million miles an hour. And I was pacing around my apartment. And I remember that a few months before my aunt and uncle, I had been visiting them in Montana, and they had said, hey, just out of the blue one day, hey, Jason, we think you should try yoga. And at the time, when someone gives you a suggestion, you think it's a good idea, but you have no intention of doing it. I went, yoga, yeah, that's a good idea. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have cerebral palsy. What? I don't do yoga. But on this day, a few months later, I was so miserable. I'm like, what the heck? So I went down to the local YMCA and I bought a $35 membership. I didn't even do yoga that first day, but that tiny step beyond my habitual going around and around in my mind, that tiny step of buying the Y membership with the intention of doing yoga, fundamentally altered the trajectory of my life.
I love that. I love that. Because often that is all it is. It's the hardest first step, but taking just that step, taking some action, just some action, changes everything. Changes everything. And so,
And of course, if I had taken that tiny step and then not gone back to a yoga class, it wouldn't have done much. But taking that tiny step and then following it up,
right?
changed everything.
Everything. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's what can happen when you take that step. So that was the beginning. And that was, some years ago. How did you go from recognizing once you got into the yoga and it started to slow down your mind and you started to realize there's another way and physiologically you were starting to feel different and everything else? What gave you or who or what was the inspiration that went from that to getting out there and being public with what's going on for you and telling the truth and going in and talking about that challenge that haunted you all of your life, that made you really sad and angry and depressed or frustrated?
All those words. Yeah, good words for good
Well,
words.
yeah, I can only imagine. And there's so many people today, as it's going on right now for people with whatever challenge it is. What was it that got you to say, wait a minute, I need to turn this into this opportunity. I have an opportunity here to embrace all of this instead of making it a curse? I'm going to make it a gift. Like, what did you do, or what was that to lead you to do what you've been doing now for, and you tell us how long, with TEDx talks and going around and talking to children everywhere and these huge massive assemblies and all of these different audiences and inspiring people worldwide. How did it get from what we've just described to this?
So before yoga, I would have dreams of what I wanted to do with my life, but I just kept having the dream and going, oh, would that be nice? But then I would take the first step and then go, oh, that's going to be too tough, and I would quit the dream. For example, for so many years, I wanted to quit drinking Coca-Cola. I was drinking 3 a day, and I would be like, I'm going to quit, but then I had the idea of going west, but then my whatever always got me back going east, drinking the other Coca-Cola. But with yoga, I realized I have more of a choice than my thoughts. So then I'm like, what do I really want to do with my life? And one of the things that emerged is I wanted to be a speaker, and it seemed like an uncanny dream, especially at the time, with a speech impediment, but I really wanted to do it. So I kept stepping in that direction again and again, and then my mind would go like, no, you're no one will understand you, or you're not making enough money, or you don't have enough business sense, or whatever. But then I was able to observe those thoughts and then keep going in the direction I wanted to go. I guess yoga gave me space to pursue what I really wanted to do with my life, or through the tools of yoga, I created the space within myself to pursue what I wanted to do.
That's beautiful. And when you had the dreams earlier than this to be a speaker, did you have ideas in your mind of what you wanted to speak about? Was it also always about motivational speaking?
Back before yoga, I felt I had a barrage of ideas all the time. I would write things down on paper and type things out, but then I would put them in the box and forget about them because I didn't have the capacity to follow up on what I really wanted to do.
Right.
And went back to a job that was good and I could handle it, but it was not what I had the potential of doing.
Oh, I understand. Oh boy, that mind, it can be so self-deceiving sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I know. I mean, I my favorite thing in the world, well, I've got many, to tell you the truth, but one of them has been writing. And so I learned that was something that I could do fairly naturally many years ago as a child, because I had a diary and I would write in it, and it gave me a voice, which I wasn't able to express out loud, but I was able to write. And so writing eventually became what I could do. And I remember getting this job as a freelance writer when I was like 20. And I know, right? I was, and with Montreal with the Canadian Jewish News when I lived there. And my dad, coming from his perspective, it was just part-time, and it was, but honey, when are you going to get a real job? but he was looking at, security and all of that stuff. So I left it. It took years before I went back into realizing that writing was a gift that I had. And who knows what would have happened had at 20, I could have had that, a career going forward that who knows where it would have gone. But I just bought into, and bless my dad, he really was coming from a place of wanting his daughter to make sure that, she could pay the rent and not have some, frivolous, creative, artistic something or other. And in those years, of course, that's creativity was felt and seen that way. And maybe it's not that different today, although it's expressed way more. It just takes a long time before we get the confidence and the courage. And you're all about creativity. And so how does one bring their imperfect best, and whatever that line is, to make the creative journey easier?
I like you, I've been inspired to be creative since I was young, but for a while I tried to be creative and also a perfectionist at the same time, and that's pretty much torturous because the perfectionist part of my mind will want to compare my writings to someone else's, which is always comparing two apples and oranges. Or if I wasn't comparing my writing to someone else's, I was comparing it to some ever-changing ideal in my head that kept getting out of my reach. I would have an idea of making a poem more perfect than I would get that, but then the ideal would have gone farther out of my reach. So it was just this exhausting thing. But being creative doing my imperfect best is like every morning I sit down at my computer and I type for 10 minutes and what comes out and I don't focus on grammar or spelling at all, but I've noticed as the years go on and I do it every day, it naturally becomes more coherent, the spelling becomes better, and all that, and so it's more imperfect best process, and learning that way rather than just writing one thing down 2 years ago and then editing it every day to get it more and more, which sounds nauseating to me.
Oh my God, it's death to me. I mean, and I think it's death to the creative spirit. I mean, I think that there is a time and place for editing. And during the creative, it's not during the creative process. The creative process is let it all rip. Who cares about spelling, punctuation, grammar, syntax, any of it? Just get it out however it wants to come out. Later, you can give your left brain linear, logical, give it a field day, a happy day, or whatever, and let it go and do whatever it wants to do. But during the creative process, I think that's what stops most of us. It's that perfectionistic thing that we have to get it right from the beginning. And who cares? People will, right? I mean, it sounds glib. Who cares? But the point is, so many of us care. We want it to be perfect. We want it to sound like. I just love Julia Cameron has this. Somebody said to her, "So, are you kidding me? Do you know how old I am? Do you know how old I'll be by the time I learn to play the piano?" She says, "Yeah, the same age you'll be if you don't." And it's like, just start. Just start. I love it. You get up, you go to your keyboard or your computer keyboard and for 10 minutes and you just write and see what shows up. And of course, like anything, like you said, the more we do it, the more, it becomes, the spelling does get better. Things do get better, but that's not the point. It just does, though. The first time you did yoga or meditation or whatever, it wasn't the first time that all of a sudden everything became clear and your mind stopped, for good.
No, not at all.
We wish, but anything I think that is moving in the direction of where we want to go is worth pursuing.
Yeah. Well, pursuing it's a process.
Yeah. So, is there a way, do you think, that using, I keep loving your phrase of the imperfect best. Is there a way that you would find that would come into making even friendships easier? Because I just, relationships, friendships. I mean, we always want to show the best side of ourselves and are so embarrassed if something, it's not the way we would want it to be or whatever. How does that fit into?
Yeah, we want to show the best side of ourselves, and then it's so easy to get, for the ego to get offended by what our friends do too, and so. And the more intimate the friendship gets, the more the more we want to be ourselves, but be our best, and the more offended we can get. So things can get really dicey unless we give ourselves and the other person freedom to be our imperfect best. And like imperfect best in general, like we stand up for the best in ourselves and in the other person and have a vision of the best. But when the imperfections come up, the things we think are imperfect, we use those to communicate, to learn from, to draw us closer, instead of saying, there's imperfection in the present, in the friendship now. It must mean we're not meant to be friends. Get away from me and I'll get away from you. So some of the best moments I found in friendships are when I and the other person felt safe to be vulnerable and have tough conversations, and to be kind to each other in the toughness of the conversation, and learned so much and drew closer instead of going further apart.
Yes, that is so valuable. What you're saying here is so important because, I think being vulnerable, being real, having the courage to just say it the way we feel it, and feel safe enough to do that. And when we're safe enough to do that, when we do that, like the way you come out in the world and say, hey, this is my imperfect best, and you know what? I am committed to bringing that speech impediment with me wherever I go. I'm going to show you
100% committed.
100% committed. Exactly. It's that, I am committed to be really honest because you're my friend. And I want to be honest, and I want to know what's in your heart too. And we're not taught that. We're not taught that. We're taught to to have a persona, with this mask that you could be dying inside, and someone says, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thanks." fine. Yeah, yeah, everything's great. You go home and you just, and you're crying in a puddle of tears, and you're afraid to say that. And what a world we would have if everybody would just be able to say, "How are you?" Well, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a tough day. Hey, pal, what's going on? How much time have you got? Well, you know what? Actually, I've just got to make this phone call, and then I'm going to call you right back because I want to know. But just give me 5 minutes, and I'm calling you back. And because life happens, and sometimes somebody says, "Well, how are you?" And you expect, "I'm fine, good." I'm not into that. When you really care and you've got other commitments, when can I tell? When and you just show up and you say, "Let me make this phone call, or I'll call you in half an hour, or now. I'm here for you, bro. I'm here. I'm here." And if we could all just be that way and just share what from our hearts, what's going on, I think that when we strip down the layers of everything that we've got going on in front of us, whatever that happens to be, wherever society, whatever religious beliefs, whatever nationality, whatever fears, and we strip them all down, we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all made of the same fabric. We all want love. We all want the best for our children. We all want to be, be healthy and want the world to be safe. And we all want that. We want that for ourselves and for our families and for everyone. And it is that kind of conversation that being our imperfect best, being who we are, that would just, increase the quality of life, friendships, of every kind of relationship. I love what you do. I love what you're sharing with the world. I love that you pursued your dream. So what would you want to say to people right now who are just on the kind of the edge of not exactly knowing how to go from this mind that never quits of how, why bother? You don't have it, man. Forget it. So-and-so's better than you. Like whatever it is for them, what would you want to say to them right now? And what steps can they take initially in order to get to that dream of theirs that they've maybe covered over?
What would I want to say? First of all, know that it's natural to have an overactive mind. It's natural to have a mind that takes you east when you want to go west. I mean, it's very human, and as long as there's been humans, we've probably struggled with these issues. So no, it's natural. Next, I would say really try to be authentic with what's going on in your mind. Just notice what it does. Notice like you're a reporter, maybe in a battle zone. Like you're not going to go to battle with what you notice in your mind. That's not your job as a reporter. Your job is just to notice and document and maybe lay some things down. And then next. Next, give yourself freedom to dream, and this is way things down to, but but write down your worst, write down your best. I didn't mean for that to write, but write down the things you really want to to do in life if you didn't keep getting in your own way. So then you have your best, and then you also know something about the hint, the imperfection, the what may seem like the imperfections your mind keeps placing in your way. So then the question is, how do you turn your process around so that so that you have freedom to choose. So you have freedom to choose what thoughts you want to act upon. How are you going to get space between the things in your life, even the things you dislike about yourself, like maybe could be anything. How are you going to get space between that so you can choose a new direction? And that involves often, I mean, there's so many options: meditation, yoga, creativity, art. Just become a detective. What works for you? What will give you some space so you can move in the direction you want to go? Don't try yoga because it worked for Jason, or maybe try it, but also see if it works for you or if something else does. And then and then and then once you do all this, keep going, because it's. I gave you some steps, but they're not necessarily linear, and it's not like once you get past one, you can cross it off and never think of it again. Keep going, become an explorer of your life, and explore what makes you work the best. A lot of gurus have one exact answer for you, but you're going to need to find the answer that work for you individually, with your mind, with the things you see are challenges. And
I love that, Jason. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you just about to add something to that?
yeah, just I wish I could have made that list more concise, and like I know exactly what you should do, but what anyone should do, but I don't. But I know through a process, each of us can find the answers we need through your own process.
I really appreciate what you're saying, because I trust that completely. We never know what somebody will say and when the penny will drop, just like it was for you with your uncle who just said, hey, why don't you try yoga? And he's like, yeah, well, yeah, right, me, forget it. And then later it was like, this is the time, and the penny dropped, and then you did, and it changed your life. But we
I
never.
got a gumball.
Oh, you got a gumball? Right.
The penny drop.
Right, I love that. So the gumball came from the gum machine, right?
Yeah.
The gum. I like that better than the penny dropped. I'm gonna think of that now.
But the penny dropped, so I could get a gumball. I was just
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that imagery. I love it because it's fun. And you see, what you're talking about is also fun. And the reason why I feel that way is because when we do open to the possibilities, like just have the willingness to know that it can be better, that sets us going west instead of east if we don't want to go east. It just happened. That's the beginning, is that willingness. And then something that you said today could be the spark that just says, oh, I'm going to do that. I hadn't thought about that. Or we just don't know where, once we open to the possibility that things can work out in a better way, that positivity itself brings, I find, life will bring it to us. Life will bring us whatever it is that we are focusing on. And if we're focusing on improving our lives and putting them and making them better than they are right now, then we will be presented with so many opportunities. The right book will show up. The phone will ring and somebody will make a suggestion of this. We'll have a dream and there'll be symbols, and all of a sudden something else will show up through that dream. A friend could call and say, da, 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 da. We never know, right? And the same goes true for if we're thinking nothing will ever change. We'll have evidence to prove that too. So it's, what do we choose to focus on? What do we choose? And knowing that someone like yourself, who for so many years of your life lived with a dream that you never let die, even though you let it die in terms of it didn't go out into the world the way it has been now for many years. It didn't, but you didn't let it go. It still came back. It was, and I feel that these things that will still come back, it's our soul calling to us. It's we're being beckoned, because I believe every single one of us has an imperfect best. Every one of us has a best, and none of us is going to do it perfectly, because we don't know how. We're always growing, evolving, learning. You know, I figure until my last breath, I'm going to be growing and learning, evolving, because there's always more. There's always more. Whenever, we never reach that mountaintop, or we do, and then there's something else that becomes, oh, that looks fun. I'm going to go over there and see what that is now. Oh, I don't have a clue how to do it. Well, I guess I'll learn. I'll start here. And right. And then you attain that goal or whatever. But you're right in that what worked for you doesn't necessarily, may not work for me. It may not work for the people who are listening, but just knowing that we don't have to show up perfect. We don't have to put that kind of pressure on ourselves. We can look at whatever those imperfections are, like you said, as an opportunity to learn what can be better. How could our lives be better? Having this gift we were given, having this gift. I mean, if somebody would have said to me years ago, Junie, mental illness, that I was diagnosed when I was 20 with a mental illness, with bipolar. If somebody would have said, wow, that's going to be a gift to you one day, I'd really wonder who the crazy one was. I mean, right? I mean, truly, it was like, there would be no way, until I realized when I was able to come out of the closet of shame and hiding and fear, and that, look at me, I've got this illness and I can't always control it and I don't know how. But creativity led me to a play to help dispel this, to write it, to dispel myths and stigmas about mental illness. And then the most vulnerable thing of all, getting on a stage and talking about my own life about it, where I really thought that's the end of my life. But I realized the message was more important than my own life. The message that we're not our diagnosis, we're not our pathology, we're not any of that. We are so much more. Then I became, people were happy to hear that message. And after I got over the initial shock that I actually did it, and the shame that came up to do it, and then just breathed into, wow, that took courage. And I started to recognize, wow, that was good. Other people could come up. It gave permission for other people to tell their truth and be vulnerable and start the conversation. And now, 20 odd years later, being a huge advocate for mental health, it has become one of the greatest gifts. It doesn't define me. I still have to be really cautious, but it doesn't define me. I know about that monkey mind that never quits, but I've become really resilient, and you have too. And we're so lucky. We live in a time of life when you and I were growing up. There wasn't the internet, there wasn't TED Talks, there wasn't inspirational whatever. We could turn on anything we wanted anytime and find that inspiration that was meant right for us, because we had the thought to turn on that, or turn on whatever music and watch a video, YouTube video of our favorite music band or orchestra, whatever, and just get inspired and get up and dance in our living room. So, I mean, there's so much available for us. We just have to take that first step.
Well, life is so amazing, as your story points out. We can go from going in the direction of hiding in our shame, to helping other people heal, because I mean, it's such a gift. The first time you spoke that, I'm sure whether people came up to you afterwards or not, you started helping people in that room where you were speaking to heal.
Yeah, it's just like that. I mean, I had a vision. I'll do it anyway because I felt the message was so important, and it stopped being about me. It was more about who needs to hear this message. And the play was the vehicle that I wanted the message to be heard or given. But then giving the talk afterwards was the most vulnerable. I really had this chatter going on that I'll lose my job. I was a mental health worker in downtown East Side in Vancouver at the time. You know, I had a private practice as a therapist. That's going to all go away now too. To me, I was just propelled by the message itself that we're not our pathology and our imperfections. We're not that. We're beautiful human beings, or spiritual beings that are here on earth, having this incarnation, being imperfect and being beautifully imperfect, and to honor that and not make it as a pathology that needs to be put in a DSM, whatever number they're at, 5.
Whatever number.
Who knows what they got there going now, but I don't feel like I just want to honor somebody I know who's passed, but I used to have a friend a very close friend, Davida, and this is for you, Davida. Years ago, Davida had a tutorial remediation school in Toronto where we lived, and it was called Davida's Place, and children and from all ages, young kids right through to high school kids, would go there after school to up their levels of study and learning. And these were mostly the kids, the parents, the teachers, the psychologists, everybody said, whatever, good luck. And she threw away all the reports, all the psychology reports, all the teachers, whatever they were saying. She had a way of making learning fun, in that these kids graduated from high school with the highest. She brought them up from the lowest to the highest, from all ages, to graduate and go on to university and excel. And this wasn't like a one-time deal. This was like 99.999% of the time. And that was her power, and that was her gift. That no, you're not stupid. Forget what everybody else is telling you. And so, yeah, what you're doing, what I'm doing in my way, what so many people are out there doing and saying, come on, guys, let's band together. We got it. Yeah.
We are basically saying life can become better. Life can become better. We can together we can grow into better and better life. Life being better and better.
What's wrong with that? Oh, that is the most wonderful thing. I mean, that's all we want. We want it for ourselves. We want it for everyone. So Jason, this has been such a privilege for me today to be together with you, for you to share your story of how you went from feeling suicidal, wanting and attempting to die because you just didn't see another way, to being this extraordinary motivator in the world today, helping people all over the globe find a way to move out of their fears of whatever that happens to be that are holding them back, into seeing a different way to make it better by being our imperfect best. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with today?
Just can I get my website in case?
Oh, of course you can. I'm sorry. Yes, and this was going to be all up in when people see this. It'll be there. But usually I ask that question, but please, yes, where can everyone find you? Everyone's going to want to know where to find you. And you've also got your books, and yes, tell us everything about that, please.
I want you all to go to the website jasonwfreeman.com because it's fun. There's a downloadable copy of my book of Awkwardly Awesome on it, and it's an interactive copy, and there's a lot of else on the website as websites are. But one thing, be sure to sign up for the newsletter, because the guy I work with, Chris, and we just put our hearts into it, and it's just joyful. So if it inspires you, please sign up. We would love to have you as part of the Awkwardly Awesome tribe.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't imagine anybody watching this today, when they watch it, watching our conversation and listening to you, that won't want to just get that fabulous book of yours and be part of your Awkwardly Awesome tribe. And by signing up for your your newsletter and all of that. And make sure you also watch Jason's Tedx Talk. It is so beautiful, so inspiring. So you're so outrageous. I love it. I mean, you're just so out there with your, you could be an actor. I don't know if that's your next goal or possibility or whatever.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out at you. You've got all the moves, man. I mean, you're fantastic on stage too. And so this has been absolutely delightful. And all of that information will also be up on the podcast here at Your Life Matters Soul Connections podcast. So again, thank you so much, Jason, for that beautiful smile and the inspiration that you bring to the world today.
Thanks for having a great conversation, Junie, and making my morning spectacular.
Oh, thank you. Bye for now.